How effective do you think cancellation is at silencing people? I saw that Sneako just got another strike on his YouTube channel, lost his TikTok account, lost his Twitter, and he seems to not really see it as a concern. Andrew Tate says that he's got even bigger since he left. And then SteveWillDoIt was at the NASDAQ announcement thing for Rumble as well. Do you think that it's cope to say you get bigger when you're cancelled, or is it legit?
It's huge cope. I think canceling is really good at getting rid of people. It's not very good at getting rid of ideas, though. So you can get rid of the man, but you're probably not going to get rid of the underlying current of thought that elevated them to the position they were in before. And that's going to still be there waiting for another person to kind of like take the reins on it.
So they set a type of rhetoric that creates an echo that other people can then fall into.
Kind of, yeah. Or like, have you ever heard of a concept called the Overton window?
Yes.
A lot of people don't know this, so they don't seem to understand this. The Overton window is discovered. It's not created. Politicians are trying to find where people are, and they can move them a little bit, but it's not like politicians say, this is the Overton window. This is how far right and left they are. It's really a big struggle for politicians trying to figure out, like, where are people, and then where can I kind of like slot in myself so that I'm popular there. So like, for instance, Donald Trump didn't necessarily significantly move the Overton window in some direction, 3 dimensions or 2 dimensions or whatever, but more he identified, whether coincidentally or not, that's a whole other conversation. But he identified there was a whole group of voters that felt a certain way about something, and he was able to tap into that. When you've got people like Andrew Tate or Sneako that are getting really big, it's because there's a hunger for that type of thought. It's not like these guys are creating, like nobody had known about this until Tate came under. It's that there are certain people that are hungry for that type of thought. So if you ban him, the banning is bad for that person. People will cope and say like, oh, you can't get canceled. Like they got even bigger. Well, then why didn't they just delete all their socials before? Like there's a reason why people want to be on these platforms. But there's still going to be that underlying current of thought, and somebody's going to come by that's another red pill or MGTOW or whatever and take the reins on it, I think, yeah.
I think you're right. I think based on what I've seen, when you remove people from that ecosystem, the audience at best, the absolute best that you can hope for is it stays as big as it is now. But the discovery medium is these platforms that have millions and billions of users, right? If you're off YouTube, there is no more discoverability for you. If you're off Instagram and TikTok, how are people going to find you? You saw this with Alex Jones, right? Alex Jones had a country-sized audience. He got removed from social media, but you know that unless he creates some incredibly smart referral scheme, how are new people going to discover his message?
I mean, yeah, you're exactly right. Like, it's such an annoying thing to argue with people because it's such a massive cope otherwise, and it betrays everything we know about like how these platforms work. Like, if I'm a platform and I'm buying talent, the reason why I'm buying talent to come to my platform is because I'm trying to bring their fan base over. You know, I want to be on a platform where people are there not because Destiny's there, but because they're watching other people. If people are coming to a platform only for me, that means that platform doesn't have anything else left like for me to grow from, you know? Like, so Rumble is definitely growing a ton off of Andrew Tate, but I don't think Andrew Tate is going to grow a ton off of Rumble.
Yes, very interesting. Well, there has to be a critical mass where Rumble could acquire so much talent that it might actually start to move the needle. For instance, Spotify's acquisition of Cole Haddadi and Rogan changed what people listened on. Maybe there's an argument to be made that people are going to watch some video content and they're maybe a little bit more platform agnostic. But I would argue that the reason Spotify worked is most people already had it. Spotify was coming in with a huge amount of existing brand equity, and it's actually a genuinely better experience for listening to podcasts on too. So it's a superior product that already had equity coming in, as opposed to Rumble, who are kind of holding onto the coattails of these big creators that they're bringing over. SteveWillDoIt, Sneako, Tate.
Yeah, the books are still probably being written on how to do this effectively. Like, nobody really knows 100%, like, how do I grow an alternative platform? There's a reason why, I don't know this off the top of my head, but I'm willing to bet that like Twitter, Facebook, these platforms are probably like 15 years old at this point, right? I know Facebook is at least that old. Twitter's probably, I feel like I've seen tweets from 2008. So like, these are old platforms, and people have tried to start new platforms, buy a bunch of talent, and it still kind of falls through. So yeah, it's very difficult to grow a new platform completely organically unless you're literally offering like the whole package. Like you said, it's got to be a product that's good on its own, that is like, why would I use this over something else? It's got to have unique talent there that you can't find in other places. It's got to have some kind of discoverability or hook in areas on other parts of the internet that people are using. Like, there's a lot that has to go right. And man, the barrier to entry for stuff like that is probably getting higher and higher and higher every day, like pharmaceutical levels in terms of how much money you have to spend to get people over on these platforms. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, TikTok, perfect example, right? I thought we'd reached saturation for the number of different channels that people would have, because there's other stuff. I don't know. You hear about people that use Gab or Yik Yak. Do you remember Yik Yak? Do you ever see that?
I don't think I did, no.
So it was location-based announcement, kind of like Twitter, but it was all anonymous, so you couldn't see who did it, and it was all location-based. So you could basically spread rumors about people that it was Gossip Girl, but on a thread, and it was completely location-based. So you would only see the stuff that was around you.
Oh, I'm not gonna remember this, but I know what you're talking about, kind of. There was another app called like Whisper or something. It wasn't called that, but it was similar. Like basically when you'd open the app, there's like 20 things, but it's all said by people locally in your area and you don't know who it is, right?
Yeah. My point being that when I saw those, I was like, oh yeah, well, this will be a cool thing for maybe a subculture, or maybe it'll try to get off the ground but probably fail. TikTok actually managed to get into the market and hold on to it because it had a superior product to everything else that was online. Without that, and I'm not convinced that Rumble quite has that yet.
Yeah. And I mean, there's going to be companies that I'm sure people are going to be doing case studies on like how they mess something up, because like we're on Skype right now, right?
Yes.
What a letdown that somehow Zoom was able to come out of nowhere and become like a massive company. Like whoever was the product manager at Skype dropped the ball on that harder than almost any other company in history. Or what if you were the person that ran Vine and you're like, okay, well, obviously short form content like this doesn't work on the internet and mobile apps, so it's time to leave. And now like 10 years later, you've got like TikTok, and it's like, oh my God, like, is that like, this is like a guy, the proverbial like 10,000 Bitcoin holder on an old hard drive that got thrown into a dumpster somewhere. It's like what mine was, you like messed it up somehow. It's like, yeah. So, I'm sure that like, I bet the ultimate answer, if I was God and I could come down and figure out everything, I bet that there's like 40% is like all of this, like you've got to have the right talent, the right allocation of resources, the right product, blah, blah, blah. And I'm willing to bet that like 50, 60% can just be like right place, right time. Like a lot of it might just be down to luck, like a certain deal getting signed, a certain thing going viral on the internet that slowly starts to propagate more users to your platform, et cetera. Like there's so many variables when it comes to internet stuff.
I think you're right. And yeah, it'll be interesting, man. It'll be interesting to see, because like I said, there has to be a critical mass. Let's say that every YouTuber with over 300k subs moved to Rumble exclusively. People would start watching that. Now, yes, absolutely. YouTube would, other creators would come through and fill up some of that watch time. But the question about how much do you need in order to tip the balance? And we've seen this with some of the guys that have moved from Twitch to YouTube gaming. That's a big sort of competition that's going on at the moment, and Twitch keeps on seeming to shoot itself in the foot and the face and the knee and everything else at the moment. Yeah,
I agree. Take everything I say with a grain of salt. But the one business model that I want to see tried that hasn't been done yet is I feel like people are really keen to buy talent and then they just do that, but they don't engage with the talent well. Like I feel like if I ran another platform, I would want to buy a talent that still associates with a lot of people on the other platform. One, that's important. And the second thing is I would want to do something with them that's unique that they didn't do before, so that people would be like motivated to go and watch, right? Like if somebody was going to buy me as talent for a platform, you could stick me somewhere else and have me stream, but like, are people going to watch it? Like I'm still going to put up YouTube videos. Like, are they really going to care that much? But if you were to buy me as talent and then put me on your platform and you did like a boxing series, I don't think I would ever do this. But if you did something crazy like that, well, now it's like, okay, cool. Yeah, he's on a new platform, which is kind of annoying, but he's doing like a new cool thing I've never seen
live
before.
Events with a panel and an audience or some shit.
Yeah, it's not enough in this day and age. I don't actually know your background if you work in like the tech world or whatnot, but like if you're in the entrepreneurial tech world, there's an ungodly amount of money that flies around in these rooms. Like the worst projects ever get like 7-figure rounds of funding, 8-figure rounds of funding. So it's like, what is happening here? It's not enough just throw money at something, because if that was the solution, like people would have already discovered these other platforms. You have to engage with it in a more intelligent way, in a more creative way than just like, oh, I paid him, $5 million a year. Why didn't he, grow my platform? It's like, yeah.
What's happening, people? If you enjoyed that, then press here for a selection of the best clips from the podcast over the last few weeks. And don't forget to subscribe. Peace.